We've got Nate here at the Western and Southern in the stringing department. Nate, we have never done any type of a segment on stringing. A lot of people don't even understand what stringing is as far as rackets go and how important it is in the running of a tournament. So first and foremost, talk to us about yourself. How long have you been in the stringing game?
I graduated from college in 1986 and didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew someone who did this and learned from him. So I've been doing this since 1986.
Well, excellent. And as it relates to a tournament, so when the Western and Southern starts, of course, players start coming, they start practicing. How do they go about scheduling, stringing services? How does that whole process work?
It's a very routine process of being a professional tennis player. You go to practice, you finish your practice and drop off rackets to be restrung for the next day. You give us instructions, whether you want it strung in the AM or the PM, what tension you want the racket strung at based on the conditions. That is what court you're on, whether it's a clay court tournament or a grass court tournament or a hard court tournament. What the temperatures are going to be like, whether it's going to be getting hot, cold, or about the same. And of course, when you're playing the next day. You tell us whether you want them strung early or late, what tension, and they give us the string. So a pro player carries his own string and says, here are my rackets for tomorrow. I'm going to give you these 2, these 4, and here's the tension I want, and use this string, please.
Excellent, excellent. So how long does it typically take for you and or your team members to string rackets?
My team members are much faster than I am. They will be able to string a racket in 20 minutes. But of course, then there's straightening the strings. There's cutting out the strings so you can put the new ones in there before stringing them. And of course, there's putting the logo or the racket manufacturer stencil on the strings. That takes a few minutes as well.
And does that typically come from the player, or do you all just have that as a part of?
As part of the on-site stringing service, we have all the stencils and the ink, and we put that on there as an order of business for every racket.
That's phenomenal. And just in general, so we're at the Western Southern, this is a week-long tournament. Talk to us about how many rackets do you all typically string within a general tournament? What would that
Well, we show up Wednesday before the tournament begins on a few matches on Sunday, and then, of course, the next week. We will string almost 1,800 rackets. With some people only bringing in 1 or 2 rackets and playing 2 or 3 rounds. But some people getting 4, 6, even 7 rackets strung per match. Some players get that many rackets strung per match, and they want rackets done for each practice day. Now, we're not at a Grand Slam, so they're playing, once they start, they're playing almost every day if they keep winning. When at a Grand Slam, it's every other day.
And is there any type of prioritization, or how do you determine how the rackets, I mean, is it like just first in, first out, or do Novak comes in and then you got a qualifier comes in? Do we do any self-prioritization?
Well, there's a little finesse involved there. But we string on every other week or tournament week of the year. We string for a group of clients, including Novak. We strung for Roger for a long time, but Milos and Stan and John Isner. There is a finesse to it. We will have multiple string machines available, and first come, first serve.
Okay. All right.
But if a player comes in and says, listen, I'm in an emergency, we will do everything we can to handle their emergency.
Yes.
But it's a matter of organizing their request. When they're coming in the evening and saying, I want my racket strung at some point before 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. They're not demanding morning stringing or evening stringing. That gives us a little bit of flexibility. It's the people that come in with 7 rackets, say, I want these strung in the morning, and I need to have them ready at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's where there's a problem, because we're not their personal stringers after all. We need to have some sleep at night. We're going to get here at 7:30 in the morning. We'll give you some of those 7 rackets at 8 o'clock in the morning, but you're going to have to come back after your warm-up and collect the rest of them.
Gotcha. Now I do have a special question. So we have seen that in matches, sometimes a player is playing, they're not getting the feel that they want off of their racket, and they're just like, they hand the ball kid a racket, and they're all. I'm assuming they are requesting for a different maybe string weight or something. So how does that work?
That would be a good assumption, being that they're basically being caught without all the rackets they need for that match, playing a professional tennis match. We have had a lot of on-court stringings. So that is for those players who are already on the court and need to have a racket restrung during the match. In general, in my opinion, that's a problem. Something's gone wrong because they have had rackets strung either earlier in that day or even the night before, and now they're going to mix in rackets strung as they're playing. So that, even if it's the same tension, those rackets play different. Strung 12, 14, 16 hours before and strung 25 seconds before.
Right.
So that's a problem. All of the rackets we've taken from on-court stringing this tournament, about half of them are the same tension as they were walking out on the court with earlier in the day. But about half of them also have changed their tension. So tweak it up a pound or a half a kilo based on, wow, the weather's hotter than I expected. I'm not getting quite the firmness to my string job, the control that I'm expecting or wanting or hoping. So I'm going to tweak it up just a little bit.
Right. Another specialized question.
Yeah.
I have heard that there are times where they do pre-stretch of the string before actually stringing. Is that a technique or is that just common?
It's definitely a technique that has become more popular since so many players are using polyester strings. Polyester strings don't stretch much, not like gut string that I grew up hoping to play with, and synthetic strings that stretch over the course of tensionizing the racket. These strings, the stringing machine pulls it like this, and it's at whatever tension you want, whether it's 40, 20 pounds, 50 pounds, or even 60 pounds. It only moves the string, stretches the string that much. So pre-stretching some of that tension loss out of it before we install it in the racket is a technique that allows the tension to be about the same throughout a set of tennis. And it doesn't come down in tension while you're playing with a string job during a very important match. So it's interesting because most people out in the general public think, well, this polyester string is very stiff. I don't need it to be stiffer. But they're probably going to play with it for a really long time. And it's going to come down significantly in tension feel, even though it's still a stiff string and it hasn't broken yet, over the month or 2 months that they're going to have that favorite racket strung with that string. So I recommend pre-stretching the strings so that the tension stays more constant throughout the life of that string job in your favorite racket.
So we know that you string for so many different players. Give us the range, kind of like what's the lowest tension to what's the highest tension that you string for a particular player.
Okay, I would have to go through the book to see if it's actually the highest tension, but we string for Novak and he's at 28 kilos, so he is upper 50s, 60 pounds. What's 28 kilos translate to in pounds? 62, so he's right around there. That's these days with half polyester string, that's pretty tight. Of course, he mixes it with gut. But a guy from France, Adrian Manarino, plays with the most powerful racket out there, and he plays with a polyester string, a normal polyester string, but he is at 10 kilos. So that's 22 pounds. When you listen to him hit a ball, and he of course is a professional tennis player, he hits it in the sweet spot every time. It sounds strange because the tension is so low. But he wants that cupping, that pocketing of the tennis ball on the string bed for his feel. And he can control that massively powerful racket with the skill of his hands and his talent. For me, back fence every time.
You and me both, exactly.
Exactly.
Anything else that you would like to share about just the overall stringing process? Anything that hasn't come out? I mean, we so appreciate this information. Again, this is something that our listeners and viewers will enjoy because a lot of them just don't have this history or knowledge.
Nothing particular comes to mind because I work only out on the professional tour, and everyone strings their racket a lot. I would suggest to the average player, test different strings with your favorite racket. So you don't want to test too many things at once. You don't want to try a new racket with new strings at a new tension. But with your normal racket, test some different tensions, test some different strings, find what you like, and it can be a game changer. When I first put 6 grams of lead in the head of my racket in the 1980s and strung it with gut strings, game changer. I'm still stringing rackets for a living, don't get me wrong, I'm not playing, but I was a much better club level player because I knew where the ball was going for the first time.
And that makes a difference, right?
Absolutely.
Nate, thank you so much. We appreciate this, appreciate your time, and yeah, just continued success in the string
Thank you
journey.
very much. Thank you very much. Good to talk to you.